The Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable. Boston first to the floor. So good. Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
What is up? First to the floor. Cavs, Celtics tomorrow.
The big one.
Big stuff here. We got Spoonie, and we are joined by friend of the podcast now, true inner circle guest at this point, Tony Pesta of Fear the Sword. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Glad to officially be a friend of the pod. It's always a pleasure to join you guys, so thanks for having me on. I did notice that the Celtics have already picked up a few losses. That has to be tough. I know brutal, that losing a game is rough, so I hope everyone's doing all right. For me, haven't felt that in a while. But listen, the losses come for us all at some point, so I'm just enjoying the ride right now.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because the last loss that the Cavaliers did experience just happened to be against the Boston Celtics. So hopefully we can keep that going tomorrow night. But yeah, I guess that's probably like, how are you? How is the fan base feeling right now? I'm guessing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to find anything to complain about when you're 15-0. I had a feeling that the Cavs could get out to a good start. They're bringing back basically the same team. They have that continuity, the stability that we've seen Boston, it has been an example of in the past. But I didn't expect them to be this good this early. Like, I don't think anybody could have. So it's been great. It's been an awesome feeling. And I'm excited for this matchup because we've had a couple challenges so far this year, but I think the game against Boston on Tuesday is going to be definitely the biggest challenge we've had so far.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody's talked about like the Cavs have had an easy schedule. Well, so have the Celtics, and so have like any team in the East because the East is so bad. It's like you can't really have a difficult schedule in the East unless you've played like all your Western Conference games. So I think it's like this has got a lot of juice. It's an NBA Cup game too, right? So there's like a little extra juice there.
Must win, dude.
Yeah, it's an absolute Ben Vallis trademark must win in game 16 of the season, of course, but. The Cavs are just playing awesome, man, and I think like the way they're playing, it will be a really, really fun game to watch because they're getting shots up there too, kind of playing a little bit like the Celtics do.
Yeah, so I think we all went over on the Cavs in the over-under pod.
One person didn't.
Oh, Spoonie.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I said slight under.
It doesn't matter, man.
Which means guaranteed over. So you're welcome, Cavs. You're welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
I'm wishing I would have put them in my 4-team lock parlay that I did because there's a couple teams in there that aren't looking so good. But like, it makes sense to me that they're really good. Two-way talent. Interestingly, the defense has come back a little bit, which we'll get into, but historically a good, still top 10 on the season. I think they're 7th after last night or the most recent game. And they've got like top end talent, Donovan Mitchell, top 10, I think an underrated player, obviously. And then you've got the continuity, which I think is just something that's underrated in the NBA. Like, these guys have now been together. This is their 4th year with the kind of the 4?
This is year 3 with Mitchell, but it's year 4 of like Garland, Mobley, Allen, like the Cavs being a good team.
Yeah, man. Like those things together, and then you add Mobley still young, Garland still young. It's the same thing with the Celtics. It's like people seem to kind of leave out the internal growth aspect when projecting forward for these teams. It's like they're not. Well, the Sixers are a completely new team, but they're not someone like the Bucks. It's like they just look at the talent and they're not really calculating, man, these guys are kind of entering their primes. We should expect them to get better. And Garland in particular, maybe we'll start there. I mean, as far as like differences for the Cavs, Darius Garland had the season from hell last year, had his broken jaw. he looks like a dude that's been allowed to eat for the past 8 months. Like he just is. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. And yeah, as someone that just had a smoothie and is a big smoothie guy, you got to mix in the solid foods. So it's good to see that he's been able to do that.
Yeah, it turns out being able to eat solid food really does make a difference. And the thing is, last year with Garland, the injuries, they were valid. Like that was 100% part of the reason why he was struggling. But he also was just having a bit of a slump regardless, even before the jaw injury. And so you kind of nailed it when you were setting this up. And just that, it's easy to forget because the Cavs are in year 4 now of being a playoff team. I mean, they missed it because of the play in the 2021 season, but just being a competitive team, it's easy to forget Darius Garland's still only 24. He turns 25 in January. It's not uncommon, especially for a player like Garland, who he's not a superstar. He's a great young player, but like he's a regular all-star type of player. It's not uncommon for those guys to have, a step back season where they just don't really look like the type of player we thought they were going to be. And their development's a little up and down. It's not a linear, this guy just becomes consistent ascension each season. So seeing him bounce back this year has definitely made me happy. I've been saying, I think it just looks like he's matured again, just in that theme of like growing up. He's about to be 25. He's in his 6th NBA season. He's making better decisions, especially at the end of games. He's always been one of the worst players in the clutch, just to be blunt. But this year he's been one of the best. And it's because he looks composed. He's mature. He's making all the right decisions, whether it's to pass or to score the ball himself. He's had no fear of the moment. And he's been a big reason the Cavs streak is still alive because, yes, Donovan Mitchell has had some great games where he's closed it in the end. He hit the game winner against Milwaukee. But Darius has kind of been their closer for maybe half of these games, at least the close ones. There's been games where Donovan just completely concedes the ball to Darius and lets him close the game. And so seeing him take that leap forward is really huge for this Cavs team. And it just goes with that theme of like, this is a team, they've had them together for 3 years now. They've all been pretty young. Even Mitchell, who's the older member of the group, but he's only 27, maybe 28 now. It's like, it really shouldn't be that big of a surprise that the Cavs are off to a good start because they've been good the last 3 years and they've kept the core together and now everyone's healthy. And it is a little, I wouldn't have expected everything to go right for them to start the year, but it still shouldn't be. It's not a fluke, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, Garland's been amazing. Like he's at 50, 40, 90, and it's not close on 22 points a game. And it's like 53, 45, 93 or something ridiculous like that. So the thing I've noticed the most about Garland is sort of like he's back to being fearless going to the rim. And in crunch time, he's fearlessly going to the rim. Do you think there was anything to like, if you break your face, I feel like it takes a while to get some confidence back. Like I'm going to go drive into a bunch of 7-foot dudes and I'll be okay. Like, do you think there's anything to that?
There has to be. Cause I mean, last year when you looked at the numbers and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there is, he's never been the best finisher below the rim, but to start last season, that was actually like the one thing that he was doing well. He wasn't really shooting 3-pointer well. His assist turnover ratio was like really uncharacteristically bad, but he was finishing at the rim at a career high rate. And if you looked at like, if someone just made like a graph, his finishing at the rim just fell off a cliff after the jaw injury. He went from like above league average to like quite literally, I think one of the like bottom 5 worst finishers in the NBA. And I feel like breaking your jaw has to be somewhere included in the factors there.
Yeah, dude. Shout out Ben in the chat. Shout out everybody in the chat. Good to see you all. A couple of Cavs fans, mostly Celtics fans, talking some smack, which is to be expected, obviously. But, hey, man, these guys have not lost a game. But Garland, you talked about the clutch stuff. He has been insane in the clutch. 80% from the field, 60% from 3. Like, that's out of control. But I mean, so we'll talk a little bit about the shooting a bit later, but obviously Garland's confidence, growth, just like being 24 years old. Atkinson's clearly empowered him to be this guy as well. But the dude that I think has probably had the most podcast air and, keystrokes utilized about him is Evan Mobley. I think from the moment he's come into the league and the Bill Simmons of the world going way too far and setting him up to fail by calling him a hybrid between Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, to like just being a normal progression for a big man. He's kind of been incredible defensively the whole time. And I know you were really on it in the Celtics series, like seeing him really like get the ball in his hands and be a dynamic 7 foot tall athlete. And it feels like that's how they're kind of empowering him this year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like in the Boston series, one of the things that it felt like was unlocked with Mobley is that for really, one of the first times of his career, they decided we're going to give you the ball. No disrespect to Al Horford, great player. Glad that he got his chip last year.
Careful.
But listen, when you're Evan Mobley and you're an athletic, nimble 7-footer and Al Horford's guarding you, rather than trying to post him up, let's get you at the elbow and just facing up against these guys. And that's what has changed for Mobley, is that he's being used in a different way. Like, I don't think anybody outside of JB Bickerstaff thought that Evan Mobley should be in the post on the block that much. Now Kenny Atkinson, listen, I know Draymond Green isn't the most popular player for either of our fan bases, but Kenny, coming from a Warriors background, has kind of been using Mobley in that Draymond Green type of role. And I think that's made a big difference for him, because in the past, Mobley, it never felt like he had a clearly defined role in the offense. But now he is. Now he's a featured member of everything they do. Like, if you look at the Cavs touches last season, It was like, I think Donovan led the team in touches at like 78 per game. Darius was second at like 75. And Mobley was a distant third at like 57. Now Mobley's touches have stayed right around that same area, but Garland and Mitchell are down by like 20. It's way more evenly distributed. And a big thing, like, also, like, I know Mobley's touches, I think, are slightly down, but he's also playing fewer minutes, so kind of adds up.
They're up a little bit, because I had a look. Okay. It's like, but that I didn't notice that his minutes were down. So that's interesting. He's got like 1.6 more touches per game. Usage is up. Usage is down, I think. No, usage is up. Okay. There we go. Actually, I just got all these numbers completely mixed up.
His touches are down. Yeah,
his touches are down.
But so his minutes. Yeah.
My brain was like, of course the touches are up. So that's how my brain did it. Tony,
it sounds.
You know what you're talking about.
No, you're good. It sounds weird to say, like, actually he's playing a bigger role in the offense, but his touches are down. The big thing is, it's that touches for Garland and Mitchell are way down, and they're all playing fewer minutes because Kenny is like really. They're playing like 10 guys a night. So it's been a little weird. They're winning games by like 20. The starters aren't playing as much, but the big difference there is that he's getting the ball in different spots. It's no longer like, we're going to let you post up once or twice a game and you're just going to stand in the dunker spot for all your minutes. Now he's getting the ball above the break. He's been empowered to do things, which has led to some growing pains. It hasn't been perfect all the way through, but the big thing is he's not hesitating as much. He looked very timid in the past. Right now, he's just putting his head down, getting to the rim. There was a play against Charlotte where he just bullied Grant Williams all the way to the basket. And that was fantastic to see. To see Evan Mobley just throw his weight around a little bit. He's gotten stronger. He's still not Giannis, but he's gotten stronger. And the confidence, all that, it's really made a big difference for him.
Dude, I love the Draymond comp, because I watched a lot of his possessions today and to prep for this. And I was thinking, like, in the past, teams would often just sag off of Mobley and he would get Bickerstaffed, where he'd just be like, go into the corner and hopefully we can win an offensive possession 4-on-5. And this year, Atkinson's doing the Draymond dribble handoff thing, where it's like, if you're going to sag off, then Mobley's just going to set the screen, dribble handoff. And I saw like Garland, Mitchell, and fucking Sam Merrill pulling up behind the handoffs and just like splashing threes. And like, the ball has gravity. So if you have a dude who can dribble and pass like Mobley can, like, give him the ball, he's going to have gravity. It completely cancels out the way teams have been defending the Cavs in the past. And there was one play, they set a middle pin down for him. He rises up from the dunker spot off the pin down, catches at the foul line, makes one move, blows by the dude and lays it off. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I don't know if it's confidence, skill set, but he just seems like a different player. And has his transition, like dribbling and passing, always been this good? I feel like that's something he's really doing a lot this year. And you guys are just playing faster too, so maybe it's opportunity.
Yeah, they are playing a lot faster. That's one stat that I had here in my notes, is that they're 7th in pace right now, which is crazy because they were bottom 10 in each of the last 3 seasons. So they've really ramped that up. And the thing about Mobley is that he's always had some playmaking touch to him. Like I've always loved the Draymond comparison for him, even like Bam Adebayo, not because I think he's as good as a playmaker as like Draymond's an incredible playmaker.
Yeah.
But he clearly had some untapped potential there, even in just transition too, where, you know, part of it's the Cavs weren't running as much. Another part is, I don't know if it was coaching, if it was just a confidence thing, but Mobley would like get a rebound and then he would look for Garland or Mitchell. It was rare that you would see him just break out in transition. This year, especially in the second quarter. So like if we're doing a preview for tomorrow, Celtics fans, watch opening in the second quarter has been like the home for Evan Mobley this season, where Kenny Atkinson is like, hey, you're out there with the second unit. You have the keys. Bring the ball up the floor, run an inverted pick and roll, do whatever you want. The results have been mixed. Early in the season, he was like crushing it. More recently, he's had some growing pains, which are to be expected, but that's what we wanted to see as Cavs fans. Is you just got to see the guy try some things. Like, what happens if we do run an inverted pick and roll with Sam Merrill? Does it work? It's worked pretty well so far. So you just got to keep letting him do it. Even if he turns it over, he has an awkward moment. Like, those are the reps that he needs, and he's finally getting them, and it's leading to some great moments.
It must be very validating for you, because I feel like I've been seeing you on Twitter being like, just let Mobley like try stuff, please, Lord. We see the flashes here and there, but it's like he was being utilized as a role player, essentially, as like he was being utilized way more like Luke Cornett than he was being utilized as like Draymond Green. And I love Luke Cornett. He's doing great stuff out there for Luke. He's not freaking Evan Mobley, third overall pick. Different bar. So I think it must be like for you to see him finally being not just like allowed, but like we want you and need you to try and take these steps as like a ball handler, initiator, and we'll kind of just see what happens.
Yeah. And one stat that I have burned into my mind, it's a weird comparison, but it just kind of shows how underutilized Mobley was last year. Mo Wagner attempted more shots than Mobley last year, and Mobley played 100 more minutes than him. So it's like, that just shouldn't be the case. Like when I first saw that stat, I was like, Wagner probably just played more minutes, right? Mobley was injured last year. No, Mobley played more total minutes and finished with fewer field goal attempts than Wagner, which is just a little crazy. And I think, honestly, the reason why Mobley took a backseat in his development is because the Cavs were really focused on trying to get Donovan Mitchell to sign that extension. So they're like, we don't want any like awkward growing pains. We just want to try and win as many games as we possibly can and convince Mitchell to stay. And so they were like, we're just going to focus on our strengths and not worry about the development. They've clearly, now that Mitchell signed that extension, they've clearly shifted their priorities and realized that Evan Mobley, as great as Donovan Mitchell is, Evan Mobley is kind of the guy who determines their long-term ceiling. So I'm just glad that he is trying things and he's being used more than Mo Wagner now.
The irony is they're winning way more now that they're doing that too,
right?
It's
so
like, maybe
better.
JB, maybe you should have been trying some of this shit.
It's funny as well. Like, I didn't even mention that too, but the Donovan Mitchell signing the contract thing. Like, I know that he was always a very pretty good soldier about the whole thing. Like, to his credit, it's a hard spot to be in. Like, you don't really want to just say one way or another because you never know what's going to happen. And we went through like the inverse where Kyrie Irving left us like 5 years ago, which obviously ended up working out for the best. Which I know you can also empathize with too. But like, I remember being like, he's going to resign. It's all the media narrative. And then he left. I'm imagining it felt quite good to be like, have the opposite where
suck it.
And it's like, yeah, he stayed. But that's also just like similar to the Celtics. Everyone's signed. There's no like external nonsense. It's just like everyone's got the contract. We're playing basketball and winning games.
Yeah. And that's the situation the Cavs have found themselves in now too, where it's like everyone's locked in. They have the whole core four locked in. It's really just incredible when you think, at least for Cavs fans, like if you think back towards Game 7 Orlando, they're down by like 18 points in the first half, and I'm thinking it's over. Core four is getting blown up. Mitchell's gone. They're trading somebody, and then you look at to where we're at now, and it's like a miracle. Like there was like a 1 in a million chance that we ended up 15-0 with the same core. I don't know if you saw the Cavs victory frog, but they're out there dancing with a person in a frog costume. Like,
that is
I didn't see any
terrifying,
of this
Tony.
coming.
It's terrifying. That frog is psychotic. It's from an acid trip. That's the first thing that scared me about the Cavs. It's like, oh no, they got a frog. When you get weird shit around your team like that, that's like Team of Destiny stuff. It's scary, man.
I thought you were going to say that was what scared you about acid. I'm like, yeah, that checks
that
out
too.
there.
Yeah. That frog was huge, man.
So, yeah, obviously Garland, Mobley, we've kind of referenced Atkinson. I know Bickerstaff was divisive, I guess is one word for it. Atkinson, it was surprising to me that it took so long for him to get another head coaching job. Always really liked him. Obviously, he has experience with Jared Allen. Did a really good job with that Nets team. And I'll throw it to you in a sec, but like something that just jumped out to me is like that trying stuff thing. It was the first Bulls game, I think, where Mobley and Allen are off the court and they just went completely small. It's like Dean Wade, Ty Jerome, and they're just like going Pacers mode, playing as fast as they can, getting shots up, versatility, switching stuff. I'm like, I've been saying this a lot. You know it when you see it, and the Celtics have been like, that in both good and bad ways this season because they've kind of been on cruise control for half the season so far. And the Cavs are like ticking you know it when you see it and you see like a legit team. It's like, doesn't matter who's out there. They're battling on defense. They're sharing the ball. They're sacrificing. They're just playing with like an energy that other teams aren't.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Atkinson has made such a difference. And one of the great things about this streak is like, yeah, it's always good to be 15-0, right? Like, again, you're never going to complain. But the important thing is the process has been good in all 15 games. Like, regardless of the record, it hasn't felt like they stole a game. Like maybe the Donovan Mitchell game winner against Milwaukee where he kind of loses the ball. Like you could say maybe they stole that. But for the most part, it's felt like they've earned every single one. So even if they were, 13-2, which is also amazing. It's just the fact that every game they've played the right way. Kenny has made adjustments, like you mentioned with going small against Chicago. Like he hasn't been stubborn. He hasn't been afraid to try things, and that has made a big difference. And I do want to say, JB, he's a good coach. He clearly, his time in Cleveland, it was ready for everyone to move on. But he did help us get to where we are. And I think he's going to do a good job in Detroit. But I mean, as players, he is doing a good job in Detroit. He has them playing really good defense, which has always been like his bread and butter. And he helped establish that in Cleveland. And just as players develop, JB, he can develop as a coach too. I think he's still one of like the 5 youngest coaches in the NBA. So like I think he's got a promising career. But Kenny Atkinson, I mean, I'm ready to build a statue. This guy has changed everything because, I mean, again, the Cavs, if I could just put like the Cavs in a nutshell for their issues over the last few years, it's that they're a great defensive team, but they really struggled to score the ball the way that other elite teams do. And Kenny has kind of changed that. Like, here's a stat to put things into perspective. Last season in regulation, the Cavs scored 130 points just 3 times, only 3 times all of last year. They've already doubled that this season. They've done it 6 times. So, he's just changed everything. He's brought over a lot of the offensive philosophies from Golden State. They're second in offensive rating behind the Boston Celtics. They're first in effective field goal percentage by like 3% right now, which that's going to come down. Obviously, like you mentioned Garland shooting like 80% in the clutch. It's gonna come down a little bit. The important thing is they're generating good looks. Like I know they're shooting absurdly great from every spot of the floor, but they're getting good looks. So even if that comes down, it's the process that's encouraging to me. Again, the pace is up, like we mentioned, and the offense is being spread out. It's not Garland, Mitchell have to do everything. It's really been distributed between everyone. And Draymond had a good quote after we obliterated the Warriors in that game, where he basically said, like, hey, they remind me of our team back in the day. Like, they're playing Warriors basketball. And so, Kenny Atkinson, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, a big thing for me, too, is that Cleveland's actually first in half-court offensive rating. And I feel like the half-court was always a struggle for the Cavs.
Definitely.
I feel like I see a lot of parallels with, like, we had Udoka for that 1 year, and he laid, like, that asshole defensive foundation. And then he obviously moved on for much different reasons than JB Bickerstaff. But then Mazzulla came in and completely transformed the offense. it almost feels like Kenny is sort of like, okay, you guys have the defense down. Now I'm going to teach you how to play offense. And I feel like it's sort of the same jump that the Celtics took. It kind of took Missoula a year, but but like last year where it was like, holy shit, this team is a juggernaut offensively and defensively. And like Atkinson just feels like kind of the perfect guy at the perfect point for this Cavs team.
Yeah, I mean, they did a fantastic job. I know some people think maybe they were a year too late in getting rid of JB and getting on board with someone like Kenny, but I can't argue with the results right now.
All right, we'll hit a quick ad read, and actually, do we need to do an ad read? Not on. Ben's not here. Ben, you're in the chat. We'll just do one. Why not? Pay some bills.
Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today, get $50 off instantly when you play $5. I wish I could sign up again to get that deal. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which players are going off, who's not? Make your pick in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. So this week, looking at the board, I don't care what the Jason Tatum point totals are. I'm taking more on those. I hate to do it. He's a Laker. Can't deny Anthony Davis been absolutely balling. Give me more on his rebounds. I think it was 11 last game. And then Giannis, I think we're respecters of Giannis Antetokounmpo on this podcast. So his line, 29.5 points. Give me more on Giannis's points. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, so we talked about the shooting, and I want to talk about like sustainability, revised expectations. So just quickly, the shooting is insane to start the year, obviously. Yeah. So the Cavs are shooting 50% on wide open threes. The Celtics led the league last season at 41.5%. Typically, it's around 42%. Shout out Steven from the Discord for pulling these numbers. Yesterday, Cavs are shooting 40% on pull-ups. Typically, it's around 37, 38. But so Levert's at 46%, which we know him too well. Career 34%. Garland, 45%, career 39. Mitchell, 42%, career 37. Okoro, 44%, career 35. Ty Jerome, 54%, career 37%. So the rocket ship will have to come back down to earth at some point, at least to some degree. But yeah, Tony, so obviously there's that element to it. So, but you already mentioned like it will come down, at least to some degree, but they're getting good looks, good process. How have like your expectations for this season kind of changed from before to now?
Yeah, I mean, entering the season, Cavs fans, we had a few things that we were hoping to see, right? We wanted to see a bounce back from Darius Garland. We were hoping we would get some sort of leap from Evan Mobley. Maybe we'd get some more from the bench. I know people were like, hey, Ty Jerome, maybe he exists. Maybe he's a real basketball player. He missed all of last year with an ankle sprain. We're like, maybe he'll play this year and he'll actually help. Who knows? If we had even just gotten like a couple of those things, we would have been happy. Everything has happened to start this season, which nobody could have expected. The shooting, again, it is going to come down. One thing that I've been saying since they were like 4-0 and when they were 5-0, 6-0, like just this whole time I've been like, I want to see what it looks like when things aren't going right, when they do have a really bad shooting night or they're down by 15 or 18 or whatever, and they're just having a bad night. Do they stick to the process? Do they stick to their guns, or do they revert to some bad habits? So far, they've had some challenges, right? Like they did fall down early to Milwaukee. They've had some games where they didn't shoot, 60% from the floor. They were a little lower than that, and they've stuck to the process so far. But again, there's going to be a stretch at some point in the season where they lose a couple games. And it's like, do they continue to buy in? I think the 15-0 start does a good way of like building a cushion there and getting some buy-in from them long-term. But again, to bring it back to your question, I think entering the season, basically everyone had Cleveland in that tier with like Orlando and Indiana as those young teams who are kind of on the outside looking in, trying to be true contenders. Right now, I think the Cavs have officially separated themselves from that group. Again, I think it's why stability and continuity really matters in the NBA. It's nice that the Cavs and Celtics are the only two teams in the East that just have their shit together, because everyone else is struggling for one reason or the other. And I do think that I know people are going to think I'm a biased Cavs fan, but I really have been. I've been pumping the brakes on this for the last 2-3 years. I've been saying, let's wait, let's be patient. I think I would legitimately say they have a fighter's chance at the title now. Like, I think they should be legitimate contenders. Are they the favorites? No. I still think Boston is the team to beat, especially in the East. There's some Western Conference teams that would be tough for them. But I just think they clearly belong in the contenders tier now, in my opinion. Even if they're not the favorites, they have a fighter's chance at competing against anybody.
Where do you expect them to end up win-loss wise? I mean, I don't think it's crazy for them to be the 1 seed, but like you bank 15 wins and no losses. Like their over/under, I think, was 49.5. They're obviously going to blow that. I mean, are you making 60 win predictions? Because I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think that's crazy, especially because the 15-0 start. I'm kicking myself for not saying they could be the 1 seed, because in our previews and predictions, I was like, they'll be the 2nd seed. They could win like maybe 55 games. I didn't see everything going this good. So they could definitely hit 60. Obviously, you don't want to peak too early in the season, so I'm hoping it continues. But when you look at the history of teams that have started, like even just 12-0, like they all pretty much sustain it, especially when you get to the 15-0 team. So not trying to jinx anything, knock on wood. I think they should definitely, they'll definitely be a top 2 seed unless things go drastically wrong, because the rest of the East is just underwater.
Oh my God, the top 2 seed is like in the bag. Like you can you
play
can
500 ball.
Dude. Like seriously. So yeah, like the Eastern Conference being the way that it is very beneficial to both the Celtics and the Cavs. Like
Indeed.
It's like obviously the Celtics want to be the 1 seed, but the idea that we can not even cruise, but like you could just like rest the whole team, it feels like, for like half the season, and you'd probably still end up. Obviously, we're early still, but the Celtics have such a high floor. Same with the Cavs. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't know how you could have the Cavs anywhere other than 2nd in the East right now. Like having them anywhere below that, unless you're just having blind faith for this, like the Sixers or the Bucks or the like just for some reason, like blind faith. And the only people that have done that, and I'll ask you about this, Tony, because like it makes sense for Cavs fans to feel that. In my chamber of echoes that I live in, Celtics fans are taking the Cavs more seriously than like Sixers content and Knicks content and Bucks content. I think because they view themselves as like in that second group. They don't want to admit that someone has leapfrogged them or that they're a tier below. But like you have to take a team that can go 15-0 seriously. And when you add all the stuff we've talked about with the continuity, the talent, the youth, the buy-in, you add all those things together with like actually doing it on the court. I think not taking them seriously would be hubris, to say the least. And look, man, we like the Celtics and Cavs have played a ton of really good basketball games over the Donovan Mitchell era, like a ton of multiple overtime games, game winner stuff. Like it's been
D-Dub.
Sorry,
D-Dub.
Oh,
his
fuck.
game, Dean Wade. Yeah, that game. Yeah,
that was like one of our worst losses of the season last year.
He's out for tomorrow. I don't know.
Is he out? I know he was questionable.
It just got released. He's
Max
out.
Strus is out too, right?
Yeah, Max Strus and Dean are out. Sam Merrill, I believe, is also out. LeVert and Okoro are questionable.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Damn.
Yeah,
Jeez.
if any Celtics fans have ankle braces that they're willing to give to Cleveland, it's
Goodness
like
me.
they're like all out with ankle injuries. It's like Max, Sam, Okoro, Wade. Like I don't know what's going on there.
That's kind of a bummer because Dean Wade in particular, I think, is very, very important. Like the game last season aside, and when he turned into like prime Ray Allen, like he is very important to your team generally, but especially I think in this Cavs matchup, and Okoro as well. But like you need these perimeter defenders to hang with the Celtics, and if they're going to be out that it's kind of a bummer. But I mean, you've got the core four, then still a big matchup, obviously.
Yeah, the core four is available, but the Celtics that's one team you would like to have your wing defenders available. It's an unfortunate thing. Dean, unfortunately, won't be playing. They've been the Cavs have found a new nickname for him. We're calling him the Dean Wolf now. I don't know how it started, but every time he does anything at Rocket Mortgage, they play the howling sound.
Sick.
So he's just the Dean Wolf now. I've been meaning to look up if it was a full moon the night that he played Boston. I've been meaning to check because I feel like something might add up there.
That's good. Okay, we got to figure that out. We got to make sure we finagle the schedule to stay out of full moons for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, this is terrifying, dude. I'm telling you, when teams get these weird things going on, it's like that's team of destiny. It's championship stuff. It's terrifying.
Nicknames,
the Frog and Dean Wolf,
frogs,
fucked, man. Yeah,
that's not good. That's not good at all. But yeah, so like I don't know if you felt the same thing, Tony, in that like obviously Cavs fans feel the way they do. Not sure how many Celtics fans you're coming into contact with, but I've seen the Celtics are like, yeah, that's easily second best team. We respect them. But it's the Sixers, Bucks, Knicks. I don't even know who else would be. I guess Magic.
Magic.
It's those groups of people that are not taking the Cavs seriously.
Yeah, I understand why the New York fans would feel that way just because of the last time we played them.
Oh, they're dining off a fucking playoff series 2 years ago in the first round.
It's ridiculous, but at least they have like some, like maybe a justification. I don't know. The Bucks, I don't even know why you're picking fights with other teams. The 76ers, they have the argument that like, all right, when Embiid and Paul George are healthy, it's different. The problem is those guys are never healthy, but we'll see. We'll see. I think you kind of nailed it. I think it really just comes down to like, it doesn't feel good to see another team kind of lap you in a way. And it's early in the season, I know, but right now it looks like the Cavs have lapped a lot of teams and become the second best team in the East. And I imagine that a lot of teams, it's just hard to really like it. You're going to become a target for them, like Philly, New York, Milwaukee, even Orlando, Indiana. Like that's where they want to be. And so you're going to kind of talk yourself into like, they're not that good. It's going to come back down. But I've seen the one thing that I want to address is we keep getting compared to the 2015 Hawks. And that just feels a little unfair because one, this Cavs team is just more talented, like straight up. They just have better players. Two, there's no LeBron James roadblock in the East anymore. So it's not like the Celtics are really good. The Celtics are a great team, but there's not like that one steamroller where, because like the Hawks, that team might be remembered a little better if they didn't run into a steamroller. And third, again, I said this earlier, but the Cavs, like this shouldn't be a total surprise. Also, I'm sorry, my dog is like making weird noises.
Spoonie would never have an animal do something on the podcast.
Yeah, no, my cat would never bump into my mic 1,000 times a show. Yeah,
but yeah, the final point there is that the Cavs team, they've been together for a while. They've been showing this potential for a long time. And all the criticisms that have been launched at the roster construction, the core four, 2 undersized guards, 2 non-shooting bigs. The reality of that is when it's working correctly, that means the Cavs have 48 minutes with at least 1 elite guard and 1 elite rim runner on the floor at all times. Now, maybe they don't have an elite wing. Thank you, Boston, for taking all of them. The Cavs can give you elite play at those other 2 positions for 48 minutes a night. And there's really very few, and I don't know if there's another NBA team that can do that right now, where you have an elite point guard and an elite center on the floor at all times.
Yeah, I think the Hawks, like that Hawks team, I think that's a really good point about them. Like, had they taken that Cleveland team to 7 instead, I think it was 5, I think they'd definitely be remembered better. But Mitchell is so much better than Joe Johnson. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, the top end talent's just higher level. And like Horford, you know, it's sort of like Mobley, that version of Horford. So I understand the desire to make that comparison, but you think Bucks fans would be used to teams passing them at this point? They've lost in the first round 2 years in a row. Like, give it up, guys. You know, like you're the dark horse now.
Celtics fans know that feeling. We were compared to the Hawks a lot last year. And the reality is you have to just prove them wrong. And in the playoffs. And even then, as we also know, that Jason Tatum may still not get respected after winning a title. But for tomorrow's game in particular, so we kind of ran through the injury report there. I think the Celtics will have everybody besides Kristaps Porzingis, but we did get word that he will be playing in Maine. So like he is like, I think he's like been ready to go for a while now. I think they're just like trying to turn him into whatever version of a Latvian robot his body can actually turn into. So I would expect him to be back for the next Cavs matchup, which is in like 2 weeks. We'll see. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but everyone available for the Celtics, it's not Kristaps Porzingis. You got the core four available for the Cavs. Spoonie, I'll ask you, is there a certain way that you would like us to play tomorrow? Like, obviously, we've been starting Horford and Cater. What would you like to see a little
this
bit?
feels like a Tillman game to me.
Well, he's not going to be there either. He's with Maine too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's so stupid. I don't want to see us play big against this Cavs team. I really want to see Jaylen Brown guard Evan Mobley, because with the way they're using Mobley, I think Jaylen makes a lot of sense guarding him. And I think if Kata's out there, Atkinson, like, we're seeing teams just go at Kata or Cornette way more than they did last year and like really expose them. And our rim protection's been awful all season for it. The Cavs can absolutely do that with either of their elite guards. So I would rather start Hauser or even start Pritchard and maybe start small. Maybe that's playing into the Cavs' hands a little bit. So my preference would be Hauser and then JB on Mobley. So you can just switch those inverted pick and rolls. And like Mobley's not going to post him up. JB's too strong, and that takes the Cavs out of what they want to run offensively. And then I think on the offensive side for the C's, you'll see a lot of what we do go at Garland. And that's what every team tries to do. And they've always, with the two bigs, they can really cover up his defensive weaknesses a lot. But the C's will try to pick at Garland and space him out. But it's tough without KP. This is a matchup we kind of need him with the two bigs out there.
All right. What would you like to see us do? Or like hearing that, Tony, like, does that like put like, because we did that a little bit in the playoffs. Like we had Tatum on Mobley a fair bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Either Tatum or Jaylen Brown on Mobley is tough for us. It's kind of diabolical if Boston does that, because he has always had like Mobley's best moments are when he does have like Al Horford on him or a slower big man who he can just kind of burst around and use his athleticism. One thing that teams in the past would be able to get away with is putting like a smaller, faster player on him. Now this year, Mobley, because he's a little stronger, he's been able to overpower some of them. But as you mentioned, Jaylen Brown's pretty damn strong too. So like that would be a very tough matchup for him. And I kind of hope that the Celtics do it just so that I can see like how does Mobley respond. If he responds and he plays good in that matchup, I would be feeling great. Even if he doesn't, I think that's a challenge. Like, listen, hopefully we see the Celtics and the Cavs play each other again at some point in the playoffs, and that's a hurdle that Mobley will have to clear. I know Porzingis isn't going to play, but like he's another thing in the future. Like that, just he's the piece that just makes you guys like the cheat code of basketball. So he's not playing, so I won't focus too much on that. But I think the main thing that I want the Cavs to do, I think the two keys is they got to defend the 3-point line, not just because Boston will shoot a bunch of threes, but it's because it's something that the Cavs, especially recently, have kind of struggled a little bit covering the 3-point line. And then they got to punish Boston in the paint, because you guys right now, without Porzingis out there, you really have to win that battle in order to keep this win streak alive.
Yeah, man, that's exactly where they have to attack us. I'm not sure. The only way that the paint stuff gets solved tomorrow, I think, is if we do have Horford coming off some rest. So like that will help. But like Jaylen and Derek White in particular have been, I would say, not up to their level of defense last year.
Especially JB, yeah.
Especially JB.
Jaylen.
I feel like I can kind of hand wave it with the injury stuff. Like he missed like 3 or 4. He missed 4 games, and he was saying he was playing through the hip thing. He's looked much better physically since coming back. So I do expect like it'll be interesting for the Celtics, because like they have definitely waxed and waned when it has come to defensive intensity. If the Warriors game is anything to go by, like they've cranked it up at like when they've wanted to. So that's what I'm hoping is like if we can guard the perimeter more effectively, that's gonna mitigate some of those rim issues. But I just don't know if that's getting solved tomorrow, sadly.
No, unfortunately, yeah, no. Jake, real quick, do you think they should go big with Kata?
No, I don't think they should go. It's not working. Like it's the going big is not translating to them playing big. They're not dominating the rebounding battle. The rim protection's not good. So if those two things aren't happening, then what's the point of the big lineup? If they're going to be playing Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, put Sam Hauser, even like Peyton Pritchard's been, I mean, Ty Jerome's got a crazy true shooting percentage. So does Peyton Pritchard. But yeah, like put the shooting out there and spread Mobley and Allen out just because, like, yeah, then if they want to attack some mismatches, you can kind of come over and help. I know, Tony, does that sound like something you'd be more scared of than the Al-Qaeda lineup?
Nemius Queta.
Yeah, I would definitely prefer that you guys try to go big because I think the Cavs would have a better chance there. But I'm really glad that you mentioned Ty Jerome and Peyton Pritchard because I actually think that Cavs fans and Celtics fans probably share this experience where it almost kind of starts as a meme, right? Where it's just kind of like a fun thing to talk about. But then at a certain point, you kind of realize, like, is this guy actually good? Like, it's not even a joke anymore. He's just genuinely good. And so I'm kind of excited to watch Jerome versus Pritchard tomorrow. Jerome has been very impactful for the Cavs this season with his playmaking, his scoring, his defense. Like, whoever wins the PP minutes might win this game.
That's true. Yeah, that's always key on the PP minutes. I have a very dumb question. Are we going to get some Jalen Tyson tomorrow since all the wings are out? My guy?
Maybe. The thing about Tyson is that he crushed it in Summer League and he got us all super excited and I was all in on it and I bought all my property on Tyson Island. And then preseason, he was a little rough and then he hasn't played like any meaningful minutes this year. So because of all the wing injuries, maybe that changes. Maybe they finally turn to him. But like you could see Tyson. You might see JT Thor out there at some point. You could see Tristan Thompson. I kind of hope that we don't see Tristan Thompson.
That would be good.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see Tyson because that would probably mean the Cavs are winning by a lot. But I'm not sure if he'll be playing any meaningful minutes yet.
It's a shame.
All right. So I could run one ad read and then we will do predictions for tomorrow night. The wait is over. Celtics basketball is back, and Game Time is the best way to get your tickets to see the best team in the NBA. Game Time has tickets for all events, concerts and shows, not just sports. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. We used Game Time to get our tickets to Summer League, and it couldn't have been easier. You could go see the Bucks in TD Garden for as little as $77, or maybe you want to drive to Charlotte to watch Tatum drop 50 on the Hornets as per usual. That will only cost you $26 to get in the building. Game Time has a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time! All right, in that ad read, I just realized I left Jimmy Butler on my fantasy basketball bench, and he has like 19, 5, and 2, and 2 in the first half, and I subbed him out for Kevon Looney, who is out tonight. So that's great. But tomorrow, Celtics, Cavs, Battle of the Titans, Tony, predictions in the garden. Let's go.
Look, I put it in the newspaper. Ty Jerome, he's going to beat PP into the dirt tomorrow. No, look, I'm really excited for this matchup. I think it's the biggest game of the year so far. Hopefully they deliver on it. Like more than anything, I just want to see another great game between these two teams. And even the NBA Cup just adds to the drama. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for the Cavs. I'm going to say they keep the streak alive. I'm personally making sure that the Cavs frog is in Boston tomorrow to keep it going. But this is going to be the Cavs' biggest challenge of the year so far, for sure.
I think same for the Celtics. That is the Celtics' biggest test of the year. That's why it's such a hype game, man. If the frog is there, man, I was feeling Celtics, but shit, I might have to change to like Cavs by 5. But I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be crunch time stuff. And I'm taking Celtics in a close one. I can't pick against them. I'm a homer.
Yes.
Celtics by 3 or 4.
Yeah. Celtics minus 4.5 is the line, which is essentially just like Celtics at home, maybe slightly better. Man, my body and brain always thinks I'm going to lose every important game. Like literally through the entire playoffs, I felt like every game was going to be a loss. So for the people, I'm going to have to say that I think the Celtics are going to win. But I don't know, man. Like the Celtics haven't been inspiring us lately, Spoonie. Like this would be like they were awesome against the Nets 2 games ago. Like they've had obviously moments to be 11-3 and then be the best offense in the league, but they haven't really inspired me to be like they're going to be the same like juggernaut in the regular season. I still believe in them playoff like wise, but like yeah, I don't go into tomorrow like feeling super confident.
Oh, I'm not confident at all, and I would not be surprised if the Cavs won for sure. There's also like a chance one of these teams is making a bunch of threes and the other is not, and it's a shitty blowout in either direction. I kind of feel like most of the times the Celtics never get blown out. They only blow people out, except for those like once every 2 months where they lose by 50. But I could see either team blowing the other one out. Basically, my prediction is literally anything can happen. So there you go. Take that to the bank.
Yeah, I was like, I definitely just copped out as well by saying I'm scared. But anyway, hopefully the Celtics win. Hopefully it's not a good game and the Celtics win by a lot. And we actually didn't even talk about Luke Travers, my guy, Australian legend. So
yeah.
He's been a lot of fun in the G League. He's killing it for the Charge.
There we go. That's what we like to hear. I gave him a high five at Summer League,
right,
which was awesome. I was probably one of very few people that recognized him at Summer League, which was like, awesome.
Me?
He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude. The 6'7" dude. You and me, same height. Yeah, this is awesome. All right, dude. So Tony, thank you again for coming on. This has been awesome. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
First off, thanks for having me. This is always a bunch of fun. And yeah, you can follow me at Tony_Pesta on Twitter. I also do YouTube. I have a Cavs podcast, but I also do like, NBA film reviews if you're more interested in stuff like that. Sometimes I cover the Celtics. So go ahead, check me out. And again, thanks for having me on, guys.
Spoonie, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Hey, I'll just say Tony's an awesome follow. He was
Yes.
all over the Mobley stuff from like the first game of preseason. And just like if you want to learn more about the NBA, I would strongly suggest you follow Tony.
Agreed. And I'm going to be jumping on playback right now to check out the second halves of like Sixers Heat. Is close. We got Bucks Rockets and just jumping around. So hop into the Celtics blog playback room, which I'll put in the chat. But if you're watching this right now, I'm assuming you've been in there at this point. But anyway, Tony, it's been a pleasure as always. Spoonie, as always, good to see everybody in the chat. It's a pleasure. Go Celtics.